I think the interesting one is Israel, because of what they're doing now with the northeastern area. Bibi Netanyahu said he wants to double the settlement population of that expanded area of the Golan Heights and buffer zone. And they've been taking out their strategic sites, the chemical weapon infrastructure. So what's your perspective there? Because there's also another thing that I want to ask you about.
In some ways, Israel kind of started this. Actually, if you want to thank somebody, thank the New York Times. Thank the New York Times. And I'll tell you exactly how this happened. So back on, I think it was November 17th, 2024, Islamic Jihad fired a rocket. And that rocket landed at the al-Arabiya hospital in Gaza. And I think there were some casualties, blew up a couple of cars as well. And the New York Times said Israel just dropped a bomb on a hospital. And they didn't correct that for I want to say 6 hours, something like that. I did a video on this. And in that moment, Israel lost the information war. It was over. Israel kind of knew that no matter what they did, the West would be against them. The New York Times would be against them because the New York Times didn't even bother to check. They just took it at face value. Israel blew up a hospital. I could have told them they didn't. And so what Israel decided after that was, we're not going to care about world opinion. We're not going to directly commit war crimes. But if we're being tougher, we're not going to listen to what the world says. We're just going to do what we need to do in order to eliminate the threat to our nation. So that happens. Next thing that happens is Israel essentially attrits Hamas to the point where they maybe have 2,000 or so fighters. There's still other organizations in Gaza. There's still criminal gangs in Gaza. But for the most part, Hamas has essentially been destroyed as an organization. Okay. The next thing that Israel does is they've gone, hey, this worked out pretty darn well. Let's take out Hezbollah. So Israel takes out Hezbollah. And they've attrited them as a fighting force. Hezbollah used to help Syria. So now Hezbollah has to take all of those soldiers out of Syria and bring them back into Lebanon to fight. And essentially, Hezbollah was farming XP in Syria. They were mostly fighting ISIS or Daesh. And they were genuine, honest-to-God operators. These guys were genuine, honest-to-God Hezbollah Special Forces. So you take that element away. Now that's one less Jenga brick in the tower of Syria, right? You have one less nation who's helping you fight. Hezbollah had to deal with their own problems. So they take their troops away. And now Israel attrits them even more. And it gets to the point where rebel forces go, hey, you know what? There's going to be a new sheriff in town on January 20th. And President Trump might cut off weapons for the Kurds. So we need to grab as much land as possible before that happens so that we can defeat the Kurds in detail when the Kurds' weapon supply runs out. We need to have our strategic depth in order to do that. And, when you are a kid in Assad's army and you're used to getting your logistics packages every 36 hours, they push up ammunition, they push up food, they push up fuel. 36 hours comes, you don't get your log pack. And 40 hours comes, you don't get your log pack. And 48 hours comes, you haven't been fed in a while, you don't have any ammunition, or you have less ammunition. You kind of go, why am I staying? Where's our log pack? Why am I staying here? Well, it's because the guys who bring the supplies to the front, they're closer to sources of media and information, right? They're closer to radio. They're closer to panic. Now those guys are going, hey, I'm getting out of here. I have a truck. I'm leaving. I'm done. I'm not playing Army anymore. And then the guys at the front, they realize, crap, we're not getting our log pack. Now it's 50 hours without any food, 56 hours without any food. Now they go, you know what? I'm done. I'm going home. And so I think that all goes back to the New York Times and that one article the New York Times posted about how the Israel struck a hospital when they didn't fail. And that was the domino that released all the other dominoes. So I would certainly say that Israel is doing something the military would want to do.
Right.
There are weapon systems in Syria. There are advanced weapon systems. You might not necessarily want bad people to have access to these weapon systems, especially if those bad people have a history of not liking Israel very much.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to say, could you imagine if someone got their hands on high-tech missiles or jet fighters? Now, honestly, some of these jet fighters are generations old, so it's probably not that big of a deal. But Israel might have taken a look at that and said, you know what? This is our chance to eliminate the Syrian Air Force for good. Let's do this thing. The other possibility is that Israel might have been doing these guys a favor. It gives them plausible deniability in the sense that no other nation or no other faction inside Syria could capture those jets and use them against the people. That could be a thing. Things like gunboats, things like that could deliver supplies, or things like aircraft that could bomb people. We don't know how many of those aircraft were operational. And it might take a little while to get them airworthy again. But it's certainly possible that Israel took a look at that and went, you know what? If we take out these aircraft now, nobody can use them, especially the people we don't want using them. The bad part is that technically that's Syria's property. Right? That's Syria's property that could have been used by the next government to defend their country. Right? Now, unfortunately, I am not a lawyer. I can't give you an answer as to whether this was legal or not, but I can understand why Israel did.